And welcome to the Glacially Musical Podcast. It is beer, metal, swearing with a side of vinyl. I, of course, am Nick Cameron of Glacially Musical, and I am joined by my good friend and co-host. I didn't have a nickname ready. Keefy Chakas.
COVID negative Keefy, finally.
COVID negative Keefy. There we go.
Two and a half weeks. 2.5 weeks of the Rona. I'm still not feeling a hundo, but like I'm much better than I was. I don't wish the shit on my worst enemy. Please take the correct mask when you go out. Please wash your hands. Please social distance. The shit is not over.
I was lucky when I had it. Mine was asymptomatic. I was just very tired and bored.
I wish I was only tired and bored.
This is a special mid-series chaser episode. Hopefully you are new or old. Hopefully you're watching. I'll go with that. This is we're going to redo and expound upon a couple of the vinyl episodes we have done. A big part of why we're doing that is because this is now on YouTube. If you are here for the vinyl care and collecting tips, thank you very much. If you are new, this is how we do things. Greetings, hellos, beer check, vinyl check, news of the day, then the meat of the matter. The meat of the matter is usually 20 to 30 minutes. So if you want to get straight to it and don't want to hear it, go to about 20 minutes and see what we're doing.
I may start time coding these things after you post them, so I'm getting very excited about that possibility.
In the meantime, I am going to beer check, but Keefy is not, because he is being smarter than I was when I had COVID. When I had COVID, all I did was drink soda and beer for 4 days.
That's because you were asymptomatic and you felt like nothing was different. That was a wonderful pour. Oh, I like that. That's fucking choice. What you got there?
This is a Hopnosis IPA from Union Jack, the home, where they are English, the home of the IPA.
If Max Kevlar was drinking this beer, it would be Mass Hopnosis. How is it? You're making a face.
Not great.
Okay, not great.
It's a little too citrusy for my taste, not enough malt back. Like the malt back.
Exactly, there it is. Speaking of citrusy, I'm not going to do a beer check, but I'm going to do a seltzer check. I'm going to do a Waterloo pineapple seltzer, one of my favorites. No glass this week. I'm just going to drink this shit from the can. One of the side effects of this Rona, and still today, I ran out right before we started recording to literally go buy a bunch of Gatorade Zero. I never drink Gatorade. I need to stay away from sugar in general. Salt and sugar fucking trigger all my health issues. Too much of it, or, you know, to be brief. And seltzer is my favorite beverage that isn't alcoholic or coffee. And they drink it all the time, constantly. I don't really enjoy SodaStream. I've tried it a few times.
It doesn't taste right.
It's not fizzy enough for me. Generally on paper, I like where it's at. I like the idea of SodaStream in home more than an actual device.
But yeah, we have one. I don't use it.
Waterloo is the house brand for. I think they're sold at Costco. That's like the #1 seller of Waterloo, but you get them everywhere now, and they have a lot of cool varieties. But Costco has them cheap in a giant variety pack, so I try to buy them from them. But this is actually this is fucking delicious. I love pineapple anything. And this pineapple seltzer, it's the perfect fruitiness and the crisp of the carbonation that I really enjoy. Cheers.
Cheers, my friend. Can I tell you a little bit about my breakfast this morning?
Please do, go ahead.
Now, what you say is your favorite, beverage that's not alcoholic or coffee is a seltzer. My favorite beverage that's not alcoholic is breakfast tea. Every Saturday and Sunday, I bust out and I do loose leaf tea. I don't do any of this. I don't do bag tea anymore because now I can taste the tea bag.
Also, the tea bags of leaves, the majority of them that you buy are not tea leaves. They're herbs synthesized to taste like tea leaves, which is fucking whack. I hate to shatter everybody's
illusions. Did not know that.
Most bag tea you buy, except for black tea, are herbs. That mostly herbs and not tea leaves. And so do you want to drink a bag of herbs or do you want actual tea? So, in a perfect world, I live in San Francisco, you would go to a tea store and buy the leaves by the pound. Things you and I will do when you come here.
When I was in San Francisco, I was amazed at how many tea shops there were in Chinatown. And I felt like such an idiot. But while I'm drinking my breakfast teas, because on Sunday mornings, usually I wake up first in my house. So the kid and the wife are a couple hours sleep. They're both feeling a little under the weather. So I had a little extra time. And I ended up watching a YouTuber, Jane something or other, who talked about these extreme weeks of budget conscious meal planning. $10 at Dollar Tree for the week. And one of the things she did was she used crap tons of rice. And I thought, I like rice. I could make rice better. So I made a 2-egg omelet with 1 slice of American cheese with umami rice, my own concoction here. It was 1 can of chicken stock, spritz of soy sauce for a little extra umami, spritz of sriracha chili sauce, some onion powder, some garlic powder, stirred it up. And then I did 3 cups of rice. So then I did another cup and a half of water and I put it on my omelet. Oh my God, this is like the greatest omelet ever. And then I put the rest of the rice in the fridge. So when we're done here, I'm running to the kitchen to make some chicken fried rice. Because that was another thing she made during her thing was cheap fried rice. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there's a good dinner.
For those at home, that sounds wonderful. For those at home, I don't do a lot of rice, but for those at home, could you describe, because umami is now like Xerox and soda pop, it is in the lexicon as a catchism, but can you just, like, what actual umami is? You're using it both ways. Can you describe why and how you're.
Umami is now a flavor. It's a flavor descriptor. Sweet, savory, sour, umami. Umami is a meaty flavor. That is the description of meaty flavor. In Japanese and Chinese cooking, they have a lot of umami flavors that are not meat. So by using soy sauce, by using fermented soybean paste, you get that umami flavor. And I do sometimes put miso paste in my rice when I cook it. And so what that did by doing the chicken stock and the soy sauce, it gave it a meaty flavor, which made the omelet just into the stratosphere.
Do you make eggs with coconut aminos?
No,
Do you
I
know what
don't
that
know.
is?
I do not. I was going to say I don't know.
Coconut aminos is the health conscious version of soy sauce
Mm.
that doesn't have much sodium in it comparatively. I love
I
soy sauce. I used to cook with it extensively. Weekly, I can't anymore because it's even a low sodium soy sauce is too much for me, and I don't like soy products in general because they disagree with me.
I don't drown anything in soy sauce personally anymore. Um, but a couple of weeks ago, the local Chinese restaurant by my office, they were out of soy sauce packets. Which soy sauce packets at the Chinese takeout place is not soy sauce. It is black salt water. It's delicious, but it's black salt water. It's salt, it's syrup, and it's some kind of coal, I assume. I don't know. So I went to the grocery store next door for my leftovers and bought a bottle of Kikkoman, and I hadn't bought Kikkoman in a long time. I bought Kikkoman regular, Kikkoman just, which I assume is a lower grade soy sauce in Japan. I actually watched a Japanology video on soy sauce brewing, and I'm like, holy hell, I had no idea that okay. But it makes sense because they use soy sauce in everything over there.
Mm.
And I opened it up and I smelled it, and it was just the most heavenly smell that I hadn't smelled in so long because I've been buying Aldi brand soy sauce or Schnucks brand soy sauce. And I decided, you know what? I'm not buying the cheap soy sauce. I'm going to spend the $3, which is not that much, for soy sauce that it's going to last me 6 months anyway. So that's what I used. It's just got such a brewed, wonderful flavor.
When
Malty.
next you go to Trader Joe's and you have $3 to spare and you're feeling adventurous, buy a bottle of coconut aminos. It's in the condiments aisle
Mm-hmm.
in Trader Joe's, and replace your soy sauce with coconut aminos for one meal.
Okay.
And if
If you
you don't like
remind,
it, I will send you the $3.29 for the
I will
bottle.
not ask for the 329 because Keefy, like a weirdo, bought one of my records.
I have no
So
business buying any records because I'm a fucking idiot. But
yeah, I
it
have
was
no
also
business buying any
something on my
records right
list
now.
of things to get, and it was the one thing you had that I wanted in the condition I wanted it in that I could afford.
I appreciate that very much. Completely. If you enjoy it, then it was necessary enough. However, had you messaged me, I would have given you a deal. But
I'm glad you sold the Led Zeppelin set at full price because I would have asked for a deal on that one.
And if it had gotten to the point where you were ready to do it, I would have given you a deal on it.
I probably would have bought it full price if I could have afforded it because, it's fine. It's not essential. Celebration Day is not essential to my collection view. Maybe down the road I'll have it.
That's kind of how I looked at it too. Was one of the things, if you look at the stuff that I am selling a lot of multi-disc sets because there was a time in my life where I was spending 4 or 5 days at home all day. And now I'm not. So if I'm going to listen to live Led Zeppelin in my busy lifestyle right now, I'm going to listen to Song Remains the Same.
Word.
Yeah. So I sold that. I also sold off that Pantera album. I put that up, and it was only up for 2 days, and somebody bought that thing.
The Pantera right now, you could
enjoy
for that thing.
If they enjoy it, because I think it's a piece of shit.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
But anyway, do we have any news of the day to go through?
We have quite a bit of news, just randomly as we record this, so this will air long after I've made this decision or not. There is a punk rock flea market a few hours away from me by public transportation in California, and I'm highly contemplating going to it just to see what records are being sold. Could be a bust. I don't really have money to shop for records. Be about $25 round trip just to take an afternoon and go to another part of California. It's near Stanford, Palo Alto, right? So not close to, it's not far, but I don't drive. So like if I drove, it'd be 40 minutes. Public transportation, 2 hours, both ways. So it's an investment. It's a day out.
Yeah, but you get to ride trains on that though, wouldn't you? Or is it all buses?
I think it's the subway, the BART, to a bus and back. There might be, could be an Amtrak option. I haven't looked.
I love the BART. Just gonna say, the BART.
The BART is a wreck. It's not the best experience, but I'm spoiled having been a New Yorker, which has 24-hour trains that are amazing unless you get pushed in front of one, which is horrible.
Wow, Captain Bringdown in the house.
Yeah, frowns a lot. MC frowns a lot. That would be my fucking MC name. But
just for the record, if I ever became a rapper, I would be a nerdcore rapper, and I have chosen my nerdcore rapper name, which is MC Solve for X.
All right, I'm surprised it's not something about noodles or MC udon or MC ramen. Like that would be so much smarter and right on brand for you. I think there probably is an MC ramen already.
There's probably. I mean,
MC Top Ramen.
I don't like Top Ramen.
Exactly why you should be MC Top Ramen, because you hate Top Ramen.
I would be MC Sapporo Ichiban Ramen.
MC
That's
snob. MC Ramen Snob, like something like that.
No, I know it would be MC Shoyu Ramen.
There you go. Show like SHO Shogun Ramen.
No, like SHOYU, which is the Japanese word for soy sauce. There is a soy sauce ramen, which the broth is a soy sauce broth.
That's awesome.
It is delicious.
We'll go have ramen together in Chinatown somewhere.
No, we'll get ramen in Japantown.
Right, yeah, sorry.
Which I have been to Japantown. So.
Yeah, so have I. It's near the Fillmore.
News of the day that I saw today. Bruce Dickinson screamed some very terrible things at a gentleman, and I use that term loosely, lighting flares in front of him while trying to sing. People, if you haven't learned by now, Bruce Dickinson wants you to stand there, sing along, scream when he says to scream, and not shoot lasers, not light flares, not distract him in any possible way. Every concert I have seen of Iron Maiden, Bruce Dickinson has yelled at the crowd for something. Same. Let the man work.
Laser pointers he doesn't like. He
hates those.
He doesn't want to see fights. There's been maybe one fight in all the times I've seen Maiden. We're getting a lot of on-stage shittiness, deserved or not. We had Dave Mustaine last week in Europe yell. Dave Mustaine was on one stage at a festival. Judas Priest is setting up on the opposite stage. One band plays and ends. The other band begins, so there's no gap and the fans don't have to move. Perfect. That's my favorite setup of any festival, rather than run from stage to stage to stage. It's exhausting. It's hot.
Never been to one like that.
I've been to many.
No, I mean the ones. Everyone I go to is stage, stage, stage,
Yeah.
stage. And I hate that.
I do too. So the European ones and the European styled ones, the Danny Wimmer festivals here in America, try to do like a stage and a stage. So you don't have, maybe there's a space in between. Maybe sometimes you have to walk to the other one, but it's not like a journey. It's
Right.
not the fucking Lord of the Rings, Misty Mountains. You're like, you get right there. So Dave Mustaine yells, the guitar tech of Judas Priest is tuning up the guitar, but like maybe the last festival he went to, there wasn't a band playing on the stage next to him, literally a couple 100 feet away. That's audible to the whole audience, the tuning up of the guitar and the riffing and the sound checking. So Dave stopped what he was doing, stopped the whole song, and said, "I'm just gonna stand here while this guy sound checks for the other band, dickhead." And he irascible.
Speaking of
Halford kicking the cell phone out of the guy's hand a few years ago.
Speaking of egotistical frontmen who know how important they are in the world of music, my personal favorite, who I wish he was not sometimes, like today, Roger Waters.
I'm glad this was my news piece, so thank you. Go ahead.
What a dick.
I mean, is he though? Because yes and no. Go ahead.
Just no, what a dick. He's angry that no one from some Toronto newspaper. I'm sorry, I don't know the TO newspapers. I don't live there. I don't read your newspapers. I don't even understand your politics because I mean your system is messed up and you have a queen.
They
you
used
have
to
Queen
have a
of Canada.
crackhead mayor. Several times of a crackhead mayor, Rob Ford.
Yeah, and his son
he was like anti-drugs, but he was a drug addict. Amazing.
Yeah. His son also, it was Rush Limbaugh too. His conservatives are very much like that in general.
Do what I say, don't do what I do.
Yes, back in the Prohibition days, they'd vote dry, but they're wet senators. Kennedy. Wet senators that vote dry.
Yeah.
And so, where was I? Oh yeah, so he is upset that Toronto Daily Mail or Toronto Star or Toronto Free Press or Toronto Newspaper Incorporated
something,
Toronto Telegraph did not send anyone to
cover his tour.
Now I can understand why he would be upset. He is Roger fucking Waters. However, this current tour, one, was supposed to have been a call to arms in 2020. And Roger Waters hasn't put out an album in 5 years. And Roger Waters, I'm not going to say is a has-been, but he is not exactly on the vanguard of the pop culture zeitgeist. He complained that the Toronto paper would cover Drake and The Weeknd.
They did cover Drake and The Weeknd's concerts the same week as his concerts in Toronto and thereabouts, Ontario. And he said, I don't listen to pop music, so I don't know who those guys are. I'm sure The Weeknd is great, but I've never heard one song from him, and I'm more important than them. Sorry to trump you, but like that's the gist of it. I'm more important as an artist than these pop stars.
Okay, one, that is true.
You're drinking that whole beer. I'm really impressed because you're trying to get to your next one.
No, I'm not having a next one.
Okay.
I want to have no beer when we get to the next part of the.
Got it.
The foreshadowing. My hands will be in use.
Got it.
One, he is far more important than Drake and The Weeknd will ever be.
Great.
Two, you don't say it.
But you don't have to say it. It actually makes you a dick to say it out loud. It makes you sound exactly what you're not trying to sound like, a useless, antiquated fossil. This is the same vibe Pink Floyd had in '77 on the Animals tour when he was getting mad at the punks. He felt like I was punk before punk was punk, and I had the same anarchist values of punks, and I was mad that they were wearing our shirts with the logo crossed out and the pink defiled, because I felt like them. You sound like a dick when you say things like this, especially because those guys are Canadian and Drake is from Toronto. His fucking album cover has him sitting on the Space Needle like it's his.
Drake was on Degrassi.
I know, he was eternal for just being on Degrassi. I don't care
exactly. And for the record,
either of them actually.
I don't either. But the problem is, Drake's character in Degrassi, Jimmy, was shot. and paralyzed. So whenever I see Drake rapping and walking,
it's a miracle.
It's like, how?
You got Ye with Jesus walks, but actually Drake walks is an actual thing. It's actually miraculous. No.
We didn't vinyl check. Wow, we skipped that. So
we skipped the vinyl check right over the vinyl check to news, but in another form, this news was very interesting and cool. There's some other things we could talk about, but we're gonna have another episode this week anyway, so we can skip all other news.
Well, moving to the vinyl check last actually works really well. So you said you got one. What you got for me? I'll let you.
Well, I had the Roger thing. I'm trying to think of all the things we talked about. Pantera in the last episode.
Yep.
People are very upset. 3 weeks in a row, people were upset about Metallica and Stranger Things. People were very upset about Aminos getting Cattle Decapitation, Carcass, and Obituary not in that order to open for them. Aminos is an insanely popular band that sells stadiums in other countries, or not quite stadiums, but arenas in other countries.
I have seen every one of those bands on that tour save Cattle Decapitation, and Aminos triples all their draws.
Yeah, it's not about who's the better band. They're all around about the same time. Carcass is around 35 years. Obituary is around 30 plus years. Cattle Decapitation is about 25 years old. Aminos is about 25, 20, 30 years old, right? They're all about the same. Carcass is maybe older. Obituary is a little older than the other two. But like,
Carcass is the oldest, but I mean, Carcass is only really from 1992.
Yeah, the biggest place I've ever seen Carcass headline by themselves is like 1,000 people.
I saw them headline Pops with Obituary, and maybe 1,000 people.
Is that Sauget, Illinois?
Sauget.
Is it really? I did not know that. I'm sorry.
It is home of the Sauget Ballet.
Well, all right then.
You can guess what that is.
I don't want to know.
I've seen it. I don't recommend it. Anywho,
do they have a glory hole also? Anyway,
I did not go to the bathroom there. I was too scared.
So every week, and now the Pantera reunion and the Zakk Wylde and Charlie Benante of.
Oh, we didn't talk about that. Pointless to me, but whatever.
We can get to it in a second, but like every week, this is like peak metal elitist gatekeeping season. Like, I can't believe 3 weeks in a row. What will be next week, or this coming week as we record this? What will be the next outrage? Metallica is the Walmart of music. They are going to be in the most popular thing, infiltrating all the things. Amon Amarth sells the most tickets. All concerts are based on sales and draw. Amon Amarth is a huge draw. Just end the story.
It's like in Man on the Moon. George Shapiro playing the owner of the Comedy Store, firing Andy Kaufman. It is show business. Without the business, there is no show.
It ain't the music friendship. It's the music business. And then again,
I'm sorry. I want to finish. No, this will be last. My last thing. So I want to do this before we get to the final check. If you've got nothing else, I'll go.
Well, just like so, Zakk Wylde, who was not my personal pick, but makes sense on a lot of levels, is going to be the guitar best friend of Dime. Charlie Benante, best friend of Dime and Vinny. They are going to be the guitarist and drummer. I would have went with a more roulette type approach. I would have went with
Agreed.
You had a good idea, which is get a lot of opening bands and then get the opening bands, drummers and guitar players to all come on like a free-for-all. That makes a lot more sense to me than one-and-one.
More Charlie fun for me.
Carpal tunnel syndrome and hand issues, injury issues that make me wonder how many shows he can play. Actually, over like if they did a year of touring, if it was hugely popular and successful, how would he hold up? Would they have to have a backup? It's usually John Deddy is usually the Charlie backup guy. And I love Zakk. I love Black Label Society. I'm gonna go see them in a couple of weeks, probably open for Anthrax. Of all things, but my concern only about Zakk, and Zakk fans will be mad at this, but most other metal fans will be like, yeah, that tracks. Zack's gonna play it Zack's way. It's gonna be the Zackness of everything. 1,000,000 pinch harmonics, a 10-minute self-indulgent solo, which is fine. But I don't know that he's gonna. I'm not saying he's not gonna honor his friend, but he's not gonna be
faithful.
He's not gonna be faithful to the songs as much as anyone else would be, because Zakk is his own thing, and he's not in awe of Daryl. He's on the level of Daryl, just
Correct.
about. And listen, Zakk Wylde has written fucking No More Tears, and
a good friend of mine forever ago, I told him, I bought the first Black Label Society record. And he says, how was it? And I said, well, that depends. He's like, on what? How do you feel about Zakk Wylde? Do you think Zakk Wylde is an underrated genius that has only been held back by Ozzy Osbourne for the past 15 years? And he said, no. Then I said, bad.
Yeah, I love Zakk. I love Black Label Society. I actually think Black Label, we could do a Black Label Society run. It would be interesting, illuminating to say the least, of the 90s. And I think his acoustic stuff is equal. His best stuff has actually been Book of Shadows and Book of Shadows 2, and the Unplugged stuff, as equal or better songwriting to when he's trying to do a million pinch harmonics and riffs. But like I love
I think
BLS.
he overplays, but that's just
Yeah, I have a BLS set list literally on my closet here next to my Metallica set list from the Secret Show. So Metallica mentioned. So anyway, that's my point. People are mad about it. I'm not mad about it. There's nothing we can do now. Those are the guys. So now it's done. The debate is over. It's Zakk and Charlie. They have been announced as the touring members. It hasn't officially been, the name of the tour has not been announced, but the booking company called it a Pantera reunion, and that is seems to be the real lightning rod to everybody on the internet.
It's just, look, I get it. I think I may have told this story before. 3 or 4 years ago, my wife loves Foreigner. We had an opportunity to see Foreigner or to see Lou Gramm in the same summer, and I said, which one do you want to go to? She said Foreigner. That's what it is. Do you want to see the Pantera live, or do you want to see Pantera?
Right. And again, we talked about this last week, so I don't want to beat this into the ground too much, but I don't think these episodes are going to run quite concurrently anyway. So
no, they are.
So here's the thing. Is it unfair to what is fair to Philip or not, but is it unfair to Philip and Rex that they can't be called Pantera because Daryl and Vincent are passed? Is it unfair to them? Is it fair that they call them? Don't they own the right to the name of the band they help make famous? Sure they do. Like, I don't think that's a thing at all.
Look, if we can accept the Who, Kiss, Black Sabbath,
again, death to all. Once again, the death to all. Everything is the to all. Pantera to all, death to all. Once a linchpin person passes away, if the band chooses to go on without them, like Black Dahlia Murder cannot do Black Dahlia Murder without Trevor. However, Gwar has more than continued.
I mean, that was Brocky's wish, but
his wish was actually to step down from the band and have somebody else be Odorous. Then because he died, it makes no sense to have Odorous because Brocky died. And actually, I don't think that anybody else could be Odorous except Brocky. And I love Bishop and I love Blothar, and I have a recent interview with him, which is wonderful. But I'm just saying.
If they own it, they can do it.
I think so. I think Black Dahlia Murder is going to probably reform as a different band with a new singer and not do Black Dahlia Murder anymore. But that's another story.
Yeah, well,
we'll get there when we get there.
But for the last thing, I want to mention that I am actually Heather. God, and I forget her podcast name that I have been on.
Heather Lawson. Happy Hour with Heather.
Happy Hour with Heather. Oh my god.
And Dave and Andrew Davey. Mm-hmm. Two of my favorite people who I've been on their podcast several times.
Yeah, they pointed out that Heather her 10-year anniversary is next year of being a music commentator of some sort.
That's wild, yeah.
And the Glacially Musical 10-year anniversary is next month.
And the Ghost Cult 10-year anniversary is in October, so we're just all turning 10.
Holy crap. Okay, moving on to the vinyl check. What you got?
I'm doing the vinyl check first. Well, then I'm gonna fucking celebrate, motherfucker. Hold on a second. Just a little coffee thing here. Just want to make sure that I have my shite. I might not have. Where's my other things? All right. Well, because we just did the run and I bought these things, fucking Fireball Ministry, the Second Great Awakening, this incredible.
God, I want that
one of the last ones. This incredible. Yeah, it's an expensive one, but it's the best record. This thing is unbelievable. It has never been on vinyl. This packaging is amazing. It came in a Mylar sleeve. It has this amazing... So here's the front cover, which is dope. It came with a lenticular rendition of the front cover, suitable for framing or a poster. This video will not do it justice, but it's lenticular. It's like 3D. Is it glaring you? Sorry.
No, it's that I don't like that stuff. That gives me weirdness.
Oh, I love that stuff. It came on this beautiful creamsicle orange vinyl. Looks like a orange thingamabob.
Got that devil in the background.
Yep, I also have the same white self-titled album you have, but I didn't want to check it because I don't want to have us repeat everything. But I also got this guy, Remember the Times. So this is the album we didn't do on our run mostly, but also comes in a beautiful packaging with this great inner sleeve.
Nice.
With lyrics and a nice photo of the band. This is the current lineup of the band should they return someday right now, which is the three OGs and Scott Reeder from Caius.
Emily is presently touring with Black Sabbath.
Yes, and look at this incredible, the purple is one of my favorite colors. Look at this. It's really also, again, can't really do justice on this lighting.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a very deep, translucent purple that is incredible. And so not only did I get these 3 vinyls, Emily sent me a patch and a pick, which I
She sent me a pick. She sent me a pick, but I only bought one.
Yeah, I mean, this was a must after our series. It just happened to be. It just happened to be that I sold something else so I could buy these. I didn't buy, just kind of recklessly buy a thing. I have the patch of the pick here somewhere, but I can't find it right now. So
that's all good.
But and that's my vinyl check for today.
My vinyl check.
Oh.
Start off with.
Tell them what it is.
The Police Synchronicity. I don't know which is the front or which is the back.
The Turner. That's the nope. Yeah, I guess it's kind of both, but I think that's actually the front.
Picked this one up a couple of weeks ago. Like I said, I'm not checking everything all at once. Kind of slowing it down to keep keep everything moving. This one's already been cleaned, so we're just gonna put it over here.
That's a wonderful record. Was that a record you loved when it came out? Is that a record you?
No, I remember watching the Every Breath You Take video with all the candles when I was very young.
Creepy.
That is one of the records that Quiet Riot Mental Health knocked out of the top spot.
That's correct.
So at one point in time,
Police, Michael Jackson.
It was So at one point in time, it was Quiet Riot, Michael Jackson, and the Police, 1, 2, and 3. And now I have all 3 of those records on vinyl. So
now you need to get Billy Joel the Bridge to complete the set.
I don't have that.
Was it the Nylon Curtain? I have to check the year.
I don't remember. The next one I got, I mentioned this when I pre-ordered it because I wanted everybody who had a chance that listens to this to buy this. However, it sold out immediately. So by the time it, went, it was gone. But what I got, Union, which features 1 John Corabi, 1 Bruce Kulick, Brent Fitz, who's presently in the Slash band, and James Hunting, who I don't know what he's doing now.
Yeah, he's adjacent to all those guys.
This one, I bought the cheaper version. It was $40, which I thought was a bit pricey.
There's a 60 that's a different one, right? Yeah.
No, it was 80.
Oh, no way. Yeah, no.
There was an $80 version.
Like pewter? What is that color?
It's silver with a little. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's a little bit of smokish.
Okay.
It's really subtle. I've actually not noticed it until just now. It's so subtle, it's probably a manufacturing defect.
Okay. I don't know. It looks pretty damn badass. And
yeah,
I
assume cool.
I assume the Synchronicity is an original press and it's black.
Yeah.
And you said so the Synchronicity was how much?
$5.
Okay. So I
had a great day where I got a crap ton of $5 stuff. Like I said, this was 40. The thing about when Deco Entertainment announced they were repressing the Union records, what I had said was, I'm in for the self-titled and possibly in for the Blue Room, depending upon price.
Okay.
However, as it was $40 plus 10 for shipping, I wasn't in for both. And I feel like they priced it too high. However, everything sold out immediately. So what can I say? They got the right number. And the $80 versions came with autographed lyric sheets and swirly vinyl cool stuff. There's also this is a 2-disc set. So it's got 4 bonus tracks. Oh Darling, Walking in Your Sleep for You. I'm sorry, Oh Darling, Walking in Your Sleep and For You were all unreleased demos. And then Love, I Don't Need It Anymore, which is the best song on the record, if you ask me, acoustic, which I don't need. Because what made that song great was the kick-ass wah-wah riff by Bruce Kulick. And I saw them on the next tour. They did not have a tour that came to St. Louis. But I actually have not washed that one yet. So in a few minutes, I'm going to show everybody how we do the washing. But before we get to that, we are talking about...
I just want to jump in and add. So in the last episode of our Fireball Ministry run, we talked about the pricing on Bandcamp and how wildly divergent it was.
Completely.
And I think actually the earlier records are sold out, and the middle record between the self-titled and the Second Great Awakening was also sold out by the time I got to it. Mm-hmm. So that Second Great Awakening with the deluxe lenticular gatefold, beautiful, everything, it was $35. The other one, Remember the Times, is $15.
I thought it was 20 when I saw it. Maybe I haven't heard that one, so I didn't buy it. I bought self-titled, which was 15. Great pressing, great whole thing.
Yeah, everything great. So just mentioning the wide divergence of how much these things cost. Again, I sold off something so I could buy those too.
Hear ya.
Anyway, continue, sir.
I'd like to talk a little bit about some stuff we talked about in the podcast only episode we did about a year ago, and now. But first off, hopefully you're watching this on YouTube because you're going to get a whole lot more out of this, especially when I get to the part where I'm cleaning a record. You're just going to hear if you're not watching. So first off, we all know about turntables, right? And what's this?
Slipmat. I have the same one, Metallica.
This is my Felt and Justice for All Slipmat. I just pulled it off my table because I use it as a mouse pad. And let me... could you pause the video for a moment, please? I should have set this up a bit better. I don't want to stick my crotch into the camera.
Please, no crotches, please. We did the crotch last week with...
Now, this is the slip mat I do use. There are wide varieties of slip mats. There are felt, there is rubber, there are cork. The felt and the rubber, do not ever use them, replace them, because they hold the most static. If you don't care about static and you like pops and clicks, well, then definitely use those.
Why are the felt ones so popular then?
Because they're the cheapest, and they come on turntables. What this is a acrylic slip mat. This is not the platter, it's a slip mat. This is a great thing to use if, like me, you can't afford the $5,000 turntables that come with the 4-inch acrylic platters. I mean, think about that. This thing's deep. These things are taller than a deep dish pizza from Chicago.
Where did you buy that?
I bought that on Amazon. It was, I think, $20.
If you can link me to it, I will add it to our link tree of products you can buy after you watch this or listen to this edition of the pod.
There's a great link tree that I actually posted on Twitter today. Now that I know again that it existed, so if you click those links, you will be able to buy all of the things I'm going to be talking about today, for the most part. The next thing I want to talk about before we get to the washing is something important to always have on hand.
I don't know what that is. Describe it, please. We're on a podcast with video.
This is a clear acrylic box that is sealed. I have not opened it until now. What this is, because I can't get it open, this is a spare needle.
Ah, okay.
I have probably 3 of these on hand at all times. Because, maybe your kid drops the needle on the plinth of your turntable.
Can we also discuss that you don't... I know that drop the needle is a expression. You shouldn't actually drop your needle.
Correct.
Please don't drop your needle. Yes, I know there's a popular Anthony Fantano, the needle drop. Please don't drop your frickin' needle. Please.
Correct. And
You're breaking your needle by doing that.
I will show you precisely how I do that in a minute. Now, so we talked about the needle. We've talked about the slip mat. Next we're going to move on to washing your records.
Do we want to talk about turntables and speakers at all, or are we going to save that for another time?
We'll save that for another time. We'll move on to washing now. So if I can get my...
Do you need me to pause?
Yes.
All right, you can ask. People know we stop and start the video. It's no different to them by the yeah, it's all good.
All right. Just for the record, do you see anything funny on the wall?
A hockey jersey and a map. 2 hockey jerseys and a map.
Hang on, I should probably have the microphone near me.
You should have the microphone near you. Thank you.
It is now. That is my Peoria hockey jersey.
Oh, cool. Is it especially significant, or you just put it there because it's funny and relevant to this podcast?
That is one of my favorite jerseys. That is my favorite player of all time, Curtis Sanford, who follows me on Twitter for some stupid reason. He started with my favorite minor league hockey team of all time, the Missouri River Otters, who folded, and he's the only player. He's not the only player to play for both, including New Bruins head coach Jim Montgomery, who played for both the Blues and the Otters. But he's the only one to start with the Otters and work his way up to the Blues. He's one of the statistically insignificant players that went from the United Hockey League into the National Hockey League. So
interesting. Today is Brian Trottier's birthday, and I'm not a big fan, but it's his birthday.
Yeah,
so people care.
Oh, and that jersey right there, the white one that's right above my head, that is also a Curtis Sanford game-worn jersey. But here is the Studebaker Wet Clean Kit. It's got brushes, got little wheels, and a reservoir. I use vinyl style cleaning solution. When you use your wet cleaner, you do not put tap water in it. Period.
Is there a way you can angle this down so we can actually see the cleaner?
It may
not be the most flattering angle where we see your junk. Which I'm very excited about seeing your junk personally.
All right, there's a little bit of extra Nick this week. I apologize for that. I was trying to avoid that.
Magic Mike podcast edition.
Yes, so this is distilled water.
Nice.
Costs, $1.50 for a gallon here in St. Louis. You pour that in.
How many fingers?
There is a line in here that goes directly below the wheels.
Okay.
So what that does...
Be very descriptive since some people are listening on a podcast.
Yes. There's a line under the wheels that basically stops right at the bottom. Pour it in like this.
How many squirts?
I don't know. I really don't know. I just put in a little bit. You don't need a whole lot. Now, I'm going to have to let this air dry because I don't have a towel with me.
We discussed towels extensively on the last thing because I had many questions.
Correct. You can use towels. You can use air dries. What I'll do is I will just take the record down off there, and I'll just put it on there.
So where will you put the record to air dry? Like, where will you put it?
I'm just going to put it on the stand.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. The back touches the label, so.
And that water is not going to drip off and damage anything?
Nope.
You have an actual record stand there. Look at that, or a book stand.
Yeah, that is you can't see it now. Right. This is a 50s record stand once 12-inch came out. The next to it is a stand that my father-in-law built. So basically, it's real simple. You just go 1.
And
2.
you're being gentle, I see.
Mm-hmm. Always hold it on the dead wax. 3. And then 1. You go backwards. 2. 3.
And so the grooves are getting wet, not just the edges because of the orientation.
Correct. And if you look, you can see the water has gone all the way around, all the way up to the label.
Do your labels get wet or no?
They can if you put in too much water.
Do they get damaged?
No. Okay. Actually, I'm going to put this right here.
Nice.
So that way it doesn't drip onto the stereo itself.
That's what I was asking.
Here's my old school headphones.
Worst case scenario, Keefy, he rides again.
Yeah, you sound like my wife. That's her jam. Now, I'm going to take you on a tour of my setup.
Cool. Do you want to move the cleaner to do this?
Yeah, I should probably set it down.
And do we want to pause the video again so you can reorientate?
No, no, I'm just gonna go to the back.
All right then. I see. You can narrate. Nice.
So what
You,
I'm
you
going
may
to
want to
do.
turn. Oh, you may want to
Sorry
turn the
about that.
microphone around so it's facing you. Yep.
Uh, give me 1 second here. All right. So now I have the microphone.
Cool.
Hopefully. All right. Cool. Or not the microphone. I have the camera. So we're going to start off with my stereo system. My stereo is a 1972 receiver. It's a Sherwood S-7100A. It is, you can get one of these for about $125, $150 on eBay. However, the shipping is going to run you 60 or 70 bucks because it's heavy. But I have never heard another setup that sounds as good as this one. There is also a version that is, there's another version that is tube. This is solid state. So I'm going to grab, hopefully you can still hear me. Then here is my turntable. It is a Pioneer PL200, 1975 turntable. Then there is the stylus. You can see my guitar picks here. Carcass, Grave Huffer, Fireball Ministry, and then another one. There is the platter. I put it back, or I'm sorry, the slip mat. I put it back. Now here are my speakers. Get a better one over here. These are 1968 Sansui speakers. I was lucky enough to find these at a estate sale. I got them for $30. So my entire vinyl setup only cost me $30. My father-in-law gifted me the stereo and the turntable. Here is my vinyl wall. Sorry, don't want to make anybody seasick.
Yeah, if you move slower, it'll be less disorientating.
That is what I reach into every day.
Are these the calyxes from IKEA? I forget.
Yes, these are the calyxes from IKEA. I've got one that holds 800 records. I paid $125 for that, or you can get one that holds 200. Is that right? 400. I'm sorry. So I've got an 800 and a 400. Those were, the 400 is, like I said, 125. Or I'm sorry, 400 is about $60, and the 800 is about $120.
And I believe they come in white, black, and some kind of chipboard mahogany.
Yeah, I went with white because it was all they had at the time. But it actually works really well in this room because it's a white room.
With
but no black curtains.
Oh.
And I don't have that on vinyl. That's the one Cream record I don't.
Damn. Missed the pun.
No, I got the pun. I don't have the record. That's the problem. That is Wheels of Fire by Cream, which I don't have that one. So that is my setup. That is what I listen to. That is how I do this. If you could now pause it so I can put this back. This is going good.
And we're back. Great job, Nick, on that display. Your setup is awesome and making me very jealous, especially your speakers. I wish that I had all through the 80s, 90s, and early aughts before I relocated from the Bronx to Salem, Massachusetts. I had an incredible pair of 70s Kenwood speakers that were flawless. They were so powerful. I had an awesome 80s EQ and a receiver, with a gain boost, and that was for my CDs in that time, my 5 CD changer, because my house was the party house, and I like to party. And why do you want the radio on at the same time as the TV? Because I like to party. Cal Norton Jr. reference, but so I wish that I had those speakers now for the turntable I have now.
Yeah, the once I changed to these speakers, it completely changed how everything sounded. And for a long time, I wasn't very good at vinyl. And in 2020, when I had a lot more time at home, I started really researching everything to get the most out of it. That's when I started cleaning. That's when I started paying more attention to my needles. I actually had a high end needle that I had changed it to, but I could never get it set up to my. It was a modern needle, and I could never get it set up to my system, so I just stopped messing with it. It was too much of a pain in the butt. It sounded great when it worked, but it didn't always work. It's mixing technology errors. It just didn't work.
So I want to ask you some questions based on what we saw. And I want you to humor me. These will sound repetitive to the ones we did previously, but I feel like this is a whole new era of YouTube for us, and I want people to get the full meal deal experience. So I'll try to compartmentalize. I think I took better notes last time. I'm not taking notes now, so we're just going to go off memory. We'll go right back to the platter. So your acrylic slip mat that goes on and off when you're not playing records.
No, it's always on.
So that slip mat is on top of your platter.
Correct.
Okay.
Same as a felt slip mat.
Okay. Yeah, I think before I knew better, before you educated me, I had my felt on when I wasn't playing records. Because my turntable, the U-Turn Audio, said don't have anything in between the record and the platter. And that also has an acrylic platter built in. I don't know if I should buy a platter to go on top of that platter, but
no,
it seems
if
like
it's
redundant.
if it says that, then leave it there because mine. If I don't know if you saw in the video, but if we have to reshoot that, I'll get a better look. You can't put a record directly onto my platter. You've got to have a mat there.
Okay, interesting. Now, we didn't discuss this. This is one of the things I have learned is the wide assortment of different turntables. The main thing, and you discussed this in the past, but now I learned this with some more extensive research for when I bought the U-Turn, which you helped me pick out, is the weight of your actual platter matters because you're trying to reduce vibrations. You don't want any other things interfering with the play of the record.
Correct.
That is why metal or acrylic are the preferred types of platters. There are some other plastic types that are not good because they're too soft. They're too soft. They're too
Correct.
not soft to touch. They're too weak to have weight to balance the actual turntable correctly.
And on mine, my platter is metal, but I have a direct drive turntable. I don't have a belt driven. Direct drive is more accurate for speed.
Yeah.
But can cause noise.
My next turntable is going to probably be the latter and not the former.
Mine is very quiet, and then once I put the heavier slip mat on there, it got even quieter. And the reason why acrylic is better than steel for a platter or for a slip mat is because it's an insulator and not a conductor. You just by playing a record, you create static. So there in Pink Floyd records, especially the 180 gram Pink Floyd records, are exceedingly staticky. They have the worst static.
I wonder why.
So they just do. It is what it is, but once you clean them, once you get rid of the static, once you put them in the Mylar sleeves, completely fixes it.
So next, we did the platter. Now we're going to do a different episode someday on turntables and other components. But I will say you have a unique setup that you have kind of this old school audiophile setup that you kind of fell into. Part of it is you got the speakers. That's amazing. The gifted turntable and receiver, Do you have a separate gain boost, or is it built into the receiver? Because the gain was built in previous decades, and now most turntables you need an external one. I had to buy an external one.
If you have a stereo receiver with a phono input, you do not need anything else. Because the phono input has the phono preamp already embedded. Right. Every single time.
I said gain boost, but I mean preamp. Sorry, guitar terminologies.
No, I hear you. If it doesn't say phono, you need to buy a preamp. So before I got this receiver, I was using a Sony early aughts receiver into the CD jack with a cheapy preamp that got the job done, but it doesn't sound anything like this. So, but I mean, the goal with your receiver, the goal with your turntable is to make it sound neutral. You want no coloration. All the color should come from what's inside the grooves. That's
Interesting.
why I like solid state, because you get the music as they closer to as they heard it in the studio when they recorded it.
Okay.
If you use tube amps, you get that tube sound. It's a different sound.
Indeed. So again, it's kind of like internet connections and computers. No two experiences are alike. You
Correct.
could, if you really care enough and you had enough money to spend, you could really wear yourself out exploring options and choosing things and being very particular. And I know people. I used to know a kid who would, every time the newest cell phone would come out, he would just change his plan, eat the money, and get a brand new iPhone 5.
Yeah,
And then and
I have no desire. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you could do the same thing with turntables,
Oh,
right?
completely. You completely could. Personally, I am happy with this setup. I had originally planned on buying a higher end modern turntable and maybe not the receiver, but I've come to the conclusion that, you know what, I have a setup that sounds really good to me, that works really well for me. And I am a big opponent of planned obsolescence, which is the making things not last as long as they used to. My stereo my speakers, and my turntable are all older than me, and they work 100%.
Right.
I'm
That's
not changing
unusual for this
anything.
day and age.
Correct. I'm not changing anything. So
Don't. Yeah. We're not gonna do speakers per se, but if you could you? I think we were talking about. I have the Edifier bookshelf speakers for my turntable, and they're dope. I have a tiny apartment. I live alone mostly right now, and they're great just for what I need. But yeah, there you could go again. Headphones, just like headphones, just like
oh
microphones,
yeah,
just like podcast mics and cameras, speakers. Literally, could be an endless episode about different kinds of speakers and results.
I am old school when it comes to speakers. I like my speakers to be furniture. I like my speakers to move a lot of air. I don't know if it genuinely makes a difference, but I have always had large speakers, and that's all I want.
Yeah, I'm
I think I
hoping.
have 12-inch woofers and
Right,
in mine. I have never actually looked at it.
they look legit. I hope in a future iteration of my domicile, I'm gonna have a music room or a music area, or just the music will be part of the living room, and I will have legitimate awesome speakers, old school speakers, and those shelf speakers will go as part of my computer setup. That's
I
my goal.
am
My goal.
I'm lucky enough to have a separate spot in my house to listen to music. So
Yeah, it's a gift.
that's not, even in where I live in the Midwest, that's not something that everybody has, and I get that.
You great. You already spent some time talking about needles and needle choices and things, so we don't have to do that again. I think. Um, Rumatum tum. Let's talk about other things. Is there any other pieces of hardware you don't have you wish you did?
Honestly, no. It's the I My goal is always in any setup I have, to have the least moving parts possible. So for me, turntable into receiver into speakers, done. And because, like we had mentioned before in the past, how many people times have you seen somebody running around a stage trying to get something to work? And the more pieces you have, the harder it becomes.
Your giant guitar pedal board leaves more room for error and
Correct.
problems.
Correct.
Let's talk about you showed the cleaning, which was wonderful, and I'm appreciative. Um, I thought that was a really great breakdown. And like you said, any old towel will do to wipe it down or air
And
dry it if you have the room and the place to do it. That it's not going to drip dry onto something else and damage something.
I'm just going to go ahead and clean the other record while we're talking,
Sure.
because I don't want to waste all the water.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I how so here's a question. How many so that amount of water in solution cleans how many records?
Upwards of 50.
Per use.
Yeah.
50.
Yeah. 50.
Like that amount of water and that 3 drops of whatever solution, you could
Mhm.
clean 50 records.
Yeah.
You're not kidding.
No, 50.
So to do one is kind of a waste.
Yeah, because again, you got to buy the water, you got to
I
buy the
mean, water's a
solution.
dollar or $1.50 or $2. The solution is the thing I would think is not cheap.
Solution's like $15, but I mean, the issue isn't buying the water as much as it is carrying the damn water home.
How long do you have that bottle of solution, and how many records? So if that little 3 drops of a bottle of however many ounces is good for 50 records, and you have 1,200 with your whole family, could that
Keeping it,
bottle theoretically do your whole collection?
yes.
So that bottle of solution
Pause,
is not
please.
like a hot sauce, which I would use out in a few months. That bottle is going to last you like a year.
Yeah, I need a quick pause.
Pause it up.
Yeah, so I don't ever clean that many at one time.
Of course.
You know,
What's the most you ever cleaned at one time? Here's a good question.
25 when
All
I
right.
was when I was going through the entire collection. I did that in 2020 when I had time. I would just, and also at that same time, I didn't have enough storage space. So that's when I bought the first Calyx, which at my old place, I had a Calyx and another setup. Now it's all Calyxes to keep it uniform. But so everything that was on because at that time, I also didn't have everything organized. It was just as I listened. So it was easier to clean everything, clean it, put it in the clean pile, listen to it, and just start moving stuff in a circular motion.
Okay. I'm a boob and fairly unsophisticated when it comes to building shit. And you are very handy and capable and things.
You say
Uh,
weird things, sir.
well, I mean, you like renovating your own house and shit. That's not
No, I
amateur
have a
shit.
contractor.
Oh, okay. How hard is it to put together this calyx? I've heard, again, that's the thing that I
It's
hear.
not hard at
It's not
all.
hard at all. I mean, it's IKEA, so it's either
It's IKEA and it's easy IKEA. If you've put
okay,
together any IKEA anything, you can get it put together in like 10
okay.
minutes.
A lot of Allen wrenches and
Yeah, I actually got to buy another one, but that's besides the point.
another calyx.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
for
you're
just
running
my.
out of room. Yeah, we have.
No, I need to buy another Calyx just for my father-in-law's records. We decided to keep those separate.
Oh, nice, interesting. Um, could you recommend something not a calyx? Because not everybody has an IKEA near them, and I would say I have read that having IKEA furniture shipped to you, unless they're delivering it with their own delivery people, so getting it shipped by mail is a dicey proposition because their shit is not exactly mail proof.
No, there was another one that I used to use. However, when all the Trump tariffs on China came through, I couldn't get them anymore, which is why I switched to Calyx. What was great about those, however, is they were expandable. So I bought one that held 100, and then each time you just bought another one, put it together, and popped it on top. But you can't get those anymore. So
How do you feel?
something like
Yeah, I was gonna say also, how do you feel about milk crates? The old
milk
school.
crates aren't the right size.
They're too small now, but they used to be the right. If you
Uh-huh.
can get like old school milk crates, they
Right.
are the right size.
I mean, I don't like them because it's more damage on your albums. It's one of the things we talked about. Well, on a YouTube video I saw when I was getting educated on this was in the 70s when vinyl was at its peak. We didn't know how to use the medium, and now we know how to use the medium, and that's why it's becoming more and more popular, I believe. And right now, record labels are opening up new plants.
Not that many, but some.
Right, but 5 years ago there were no American plants. Now there's like six.
Yeah, that's better than none. And I'm still hopeful, in terms of DIY bands, that's the struggle. If you can't really, there isn't a flexible option where it's financially equitable to do 50. You really need to do 1,000 or 500 or 300
300
or
is the
250.
minimum quantity to be able to sell it for any reasonable
Yeah,
pricing.
I've seen smaller like the Doom and Stoner Doom labels that I like Ripple. Their average limited edition vinyl variants are 300
Mm-hmm.
and 250.
300 is like I said, 300. When I looked at it 5 or 6 years ago, looking at helping a friend of mine get one of his records pressed, but when I started doing all the numbers, it's like, wow, this is going to cost me how much money just so I can have a copy of this.
Yeah,
And because
it's
he didn't
nuts.
think they would sell,
Yeah, that's the problem. You have to believe in yourself. Again, a
you got to
band
move
like
them.
I'm gonna mention a band we've talked about before on the pod, Haunt from Fresno, California. They are just visionary when it comes to merch. They are visionary when it comes to everything marketing and everything merch and everything physical media. And I marvel at the planning and smarts, and like he's writing a record now to come out 2 years from now and putting the down payment on the vinyl now for that record.
That's the way you do
And the
it.
new one is out with a bunch of different variants, and like it was planned a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And he's got pretty good turnaround times because that guy's a frequent customer, so he's got some kind of good connection.
Right.
Um, let's also talk about the actual physical vinyl care. So this episode, this is, I think, far better than the other episode. Actually, we're covering a lot more ground, I think. You have discussed, we are stands for Mylar. That's not the rice paper, and that's not the paper.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
the Mylar. We have a recommended one to buy. I have some coming to me in the mail finally.
I got a package of them that I got last week.
I continue to get these. You can get them in 50 or 100.
Mm-hmm.
They probably come in bigger sizes. If you can get a wholesaler and you have a record store, you probably can get them at 1,000 a clip because you would need them. As we have said many times, normalize the Mylar, normalize the Mylar in the packaging.
Correct.
The Fireball Ministry records came with a Mylar built into the paper, built into the paper sleeve. That's the
it is becoming more common. However, if you're buying a $15 record, it's probably not going to be there.
And also, just you're buying
old.
If you're like Nick and you're hunting for older original presses and things like that, they didn't have them. It was all paper, and so you want to cut. Like, I'm gonna just make an assertion, and you say true or false. You want to buy your record, come home from the store, remove the plastic, shrink wrap because those shrink over time and will warp your records. We've discussed this, and pull out your record. And if it's not a Mylar sleeve, you want to put it in one that minute.
Clean it, then sleeve it.
Clean it, then sleeve it. That's the order of operations. Buy, remove the shrink wrap, clean, sleeve.
Correct.
Or if it came in a Mylar, back in that Mylar.
Correct.
A pox on people who stack records like this.
Also keep them standing upright, and you don't want to pack them into your storage units. If you looked when I gave the tour, you could see that none of my squares are full.
Right, you want some space. They want to be breathing. They don't want to be squished. You will ruin
if you squish them,
sleeves.
you'll get ring wear on the sleeves.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to move them back and forth.
So let's talk about this. You have bought a lot of used stuff. You have bought a lot of loved things, well-worn, loved and appreciated things. Some people are anal retentive, and if it's not like mint condition perfect, like a baseball card or a comic book, they flip the fuck out.
I have actually cleaned enough records into amazingness that I don't care as much. If you see a record that's really scratched up, don't be afraid to touch it, because you can feel if you can't feel the scratch,
It's not
the scratch. It doesn't mean anything. It's nothing. You might get a little cue burn, which is where if you drop the needle in the same spot over and over, stuff like that. But if you can't feel a scratch, it won't make a noise. It's just a surface. It's just cosmetic. And I've had records that have been pulled out of basements, that have been in basements for 10 years.
You said that.
That as soon as I cleaned them a few times, it got rid of all the crackles. Some you can't get rid of all of, like original pressing Led Zeppelin records, you're never going to get the crackles out. Those things.
Most 70s records are going to have some snap, crackle, and pop.
I disagree.
Really?
I disagree with that. It's Led Zeppelin is the one that has the most. Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath.
Why?
I don't know, but Pink Floyd records, man,
maybe they were overproduced and the production quality was lower.
I don't know, but the Pink Floyd records always sound great. People that bought those, listened to them, loved them. The Led Zeppelin records are just like picked up and tossed off the turntable.
Speaking of Pink Floyd, and apropos of a news item from a previous week, have you already pre-ordered your Animals?
Yes, I have.
You have.
Yeah,
I haven't yet because I'm trying to be good, but I'm going to.
The
next major purchase is going to be it.
I pre-ordered it on Amazon. They won't charge me until it ships. So.
Oh, that's pretty smart. When does it get shipped?
September.
Oh, that might be able to do that then. All right.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna. It's Pink Floyd. They're not gonna sell out, right? Like it's not limited.
Won't.
It's the fucking.
No,
Animals.
They won't sell out. It'll get cheaper as time goes on. But is there anything else we need to wrap up?
Because September. Anyway, I know. I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything. Did we miss anything? Is there
I
anything else
don't
you
think
would like
so.
to add?
Pretty much the only thing I will say is don't, if your turntable is automatic, if you could hit the play button, always hit play. Don't ever manually put down the needle if you don't have to. Mine has a lever on it that takes the stylus up and down, so that way you're dropping it onto your record properly. If you care for these things, clean them, store them properly, they will last forever. They really
Um,
will. And they don't have the problems that CD and cassette tapes have where they're digitized onto something. These are the grooves on a record are the physical manifestations of the sound waves to be read by an apparatus. They will sound wonderful
the digital is
forever.
convenient, but it's not the best sounding. Do we say distilled water
Yeah,
officially?
distilled water.
Not any other kind of water. Distilled
Correct.
specifically.
It
Is there
takes
a
out
specific
all the
reason?
particles. There's no
It's got the
particles in it.
particles.
So
Not
it's
Avion, everybody. Not smart
correct.
water. These things will damage your records.
It's like the reason why some people say let it air dry, don't use a paper towel. It might be being a little bit oversensitive, but also that
Well, I
we've
don't think
always
the use of paper towel is probably a bad idea. I think we said a towel, a physical cloth
yeah, a
towel.
towel, a terry cloth towel.
Yeah, terry cloth.
But some people say they get problems with fuzzies. I don't have that problem, so I don't worry about
And that's why you get a. We haven't talked about a vinyl brush. That's what your brush is for.
it. I don't have a vinyl brush.
You know, I thought you did. We have one in
I have
our
a
kit.
I have a stylus brush,
A stylus brush. Okay.
which is in the
Stylus
link
brush
tree.
and vinyl. Do you've never used? You don't have one, but we have a recommended one that I pulled. Um,
I
I
use
also
the wet cleaner, and that's what works for me.
I think there are cleaning kits that are okay. You can get them. I know starter beginner people cleaning kits. I think we also have one
Mhm.
on offer, and yeah, it helps the podcast. So help us out. And I can't think of anything else. I think this was very extensive and educational. I think we should do these like once a year at this point going forward. But like this is a really essential chaser. I would like to revisit someday and do turntables and do speakers and do
Oh yeah,
components. Even if you
happy
don't
to do
get new
so.
ones, we should do those. And you know, technology does change and grow and adapt. So don't be afraid of it. Just cause you can't possibly put together what Nick has put together doesn't mean you can't put together a very
Look,
reputable, great sounding system.
oh yeah, I got lucky, and I've got backups to these in case they break. I have I have a modern turntable, and I have a '90s receiver. That if either one of these things go down, the other one's going in immediately.
Yeah,
And they both and they'll sound. And I've heard the turntable. It's a powered turntable. It's my father-in-law's. It sounds great. Does it sound better than this one? I don't know. It sounds good enough that I'm not giving it up though.
I like my U-turn. I think it's got a shelf life of about 2 more years. I would like to eventually get one with an automatic lever and certain other things. I don't like the belt system. It's very frustrating for me personally. But the sound of my turntable is awesome. I've been really enjoying it.
There's all
And
kinds of bits and bobs, and it is what
yeah,
it is.
it is what it is. Do you want to take us home, Nicholas?
Well, thank you guys for listening very much. Vinyl is a passion of both mine and Keefy's, and hopefully you learned something or were at least entertained. If you have enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, rate and review. Clicking the like button or the subscription buttons, it's going to come across. It's a nothing burger for you, but it means the world to us. We're small time creators, and every like, every subscribe helps us immeasurably. So I will say thank you to my co-host Keefy for joining me again this week. Thank you everyone for listening. This is the Glacial Musical Podcast. It doesn't play in Peoria.